Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Steven Inks. My name is Steven and we are once again taking a deep dive into the world of fountain pens, specifically how fountain pens can be used to make art, and I'm going to be looking at a new pen that I have today. And this particular pen is the type of pen that I wouldn't normally be super excited about purchasing. That is a pen that is a direct copy of another brand's pen, but just at a lower price point. Sometimes you use the word knockoff pen, but this one had such a unique story that I just really couldn't resist it. Today we're going to be looking at the Jinhao 85, which is obviously a very close simile to the new 2021 issue of the Parker 51. And the reason why I say that this pen has a very interesting story is because this is one of the first ever times that a pen has copied the design of another pen before that pen came out. So people were looking for this reissue of the Parker 51, which has been out of production for quite some time, recently came back, and then Jinhao released this pen, and it is very, very similar to what that Parker 51 looks like. But the interesting thing is, this is such a well-made and designed pen for its price point that when it came out, there were some people in the fountain pen community who were actually a little bit mad at Parker, in that Jinhao made this pen that's on a similar quality level to a pen that costs maybe 10 times the cost of this Jinhao 85. So I kind of had to know what this pen was about. I had to get in on that controversy, so I bought one. We're going to play with it today. We're going to look at the parts, we're going to look at the features, we're going to fill it up with ink, and I'm going to draw with it for you. So thanks for stopping by. Let's check this out. Here it is, the Jinhao 85. Looking at it at first glance, I gotta say it feels much nicer than the price that it comes at. I love here the cap has this nice kind of ribbed texture. It's very shiny. It has a very nice sleek finish. There's sort of a domed finial. It's got a little bit of a point to it. This pen kind of looks like it was a forming member of Devo, with that little hat right there. I just aged myself. This blue lacquer finish is very pretty, very attractive, and this is a twist-off cap. And you can see that it's got these threads. And I actually like twist-off caps, especially on less expensive pens, because whatever the mechanism is, if it's a friction fit, a lot of times I find those tend to wear down, and then they'll break or they'll crack, and then this little tiny piece of plastic has made the entire pen worthless. So the threads, I think, are nice. This is a hooded nib. This is my third hooded nib that I've ever owned, and it looks very similar to another pen that I have. We'll discuss that in a little bit. Section opens, revealing the standard issue Jinhao converter. The good news about Jinhao's converters is if you really hate them, and I know some people really do, personally I don't mind them, but they are standard international, so I could easily take this converter out, and I could put instead, like, here's a Schmidt International converter. I can pop it on. It takes a little bit of push to get it in there, and then there we go. We've got a different converter if you don't like the one that it came with, and it does close over the top. One of the features of this particular pen that I was surprised by in a very pleasant way is that you can see right here on the edge of the threads down by the bottom, there's a little bit of a rubber O-ring. And what that accomplishes is when you put this body back on to the section and you screw it tight, it's like regular threads up till about here. And when you contact that rubber ring, there's a nice slow transition. It's a very satisfying twist, and it makes it feel like the thing is secure and tight, and you're not going to have any problems with the pen with like leakage or anything like that. So that's really nice. There's not much else to this pen. One thing I will say is I cannot in good conscience compare it to the Parker 51 because I don't have and have never owned one. I know a lot of YouTubers and a lot of reviewers out there are comparing this to a 51, and you know, I can't say much about that. It does look nice. To me, it looks very much like a Parker 51. But one thing I can compare it to, as a matter of fact, is another Jinhao pen that I have reviewed in the past on this channel, is the 51A. And this is one of my favorite pens for drawing. It gives me a really nice thin line. And it looks nice. And this is the Tigerwood finish. And I've had this pen for about a year. I've used it quite a lot of times. I really do enjoy it. But I wanted to give a little side-by-side comparison between the two. Obviously, the 85 has a little more upscaled look to it. And it is a little bit more expensive. Not much, though. I can definitely see the sections are modeled in a similar way. I found out, this is actually interesting, I found out that you can actually screw this section of the 51A onto the 85. The cap does not fit, so it's not actually something that you can or should, that I'm recommending that you do. But it's interesting to see that the machining is very similar with the threads. And the sections look identical, but this one is slightly wider than this one. So that just kind of is what it is. Comparing the two as far as the look, I gotta say I do prefer the look of the 85 over the 51A, although I do still like that 51A. I was mentioning the friction fit cap, that's a difference there. We have that pointy finial, actually, another similarity. Yeah, and size-wise, 51A is slightly narrower, slightly shorter. So there's that to consider. And weight-wise, the 85 definitely has more of a heft over the 51A. So if you like a lighter pen, this is nice. If you like a heavier pen, this is nice. It's not overwhelmingly heavy, but just comparing the two, I would definitely say that there's a noticeable difference in the weight of this pen as opposed to this pen. Okay, so check out the video on this pen if you're interested in it. I really do like this pen, the 51A, also by Jinhao. And this is the pen that we're going to fill up with some ink and do some drawing. To match the blue of this Jinhao 85, I've decided to go with my ink of choice, which is the 3 Oysters Sea of Notions Doming Blue. Some of you may be thinking I've used this ink 3 times in videos, including the review of the ink, but I just gotta say, I don't actually have that much ink. I choose things I like and I use what I like over and over again until it's gone. So that's what we're doing today, and we are going to fill up this Jinhao 85 with 3 Oysters Doming Blue Sea of Notions ink. And this is converter, so I'm going to start with the piston engaged all the way to the bottom. This particular Jinhao piston feels like it sticks a little bit. I may have to see if I can work some silicone grease into that, or just replace it with another converter that I have lying around. Anyway, the piston's all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to submerge it in the ink. Good thing about hooded nibs, you really don't have to go that deep in order to get it in. So if you're trying to get a fill on a bottle that's almost done, well, a hooded nib is an excellent way to go. All right, I like to do 2 twists and then I can get a nice big fill. And there we go. A little bit of a scrape off on the edge. And we are pretty clean. Gonna go dab the rest of this off and then we are going to make some art. Stay tuned. Today's sample lines are going to be drawn with the Rendr Sketchbook, which I have shown in the past and used for a couple of drawings and things that I've been working on. If you want to see some of these posts, you can find them on my Instagram, which is the same username, Steven Inks, where you'll find more of my art, my doodles, some of the less finalized stuff that I put out, like on these videos. I gotta say, I'm still a little bit on the fence. I have some legitimate criticisms of this particular book. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, that is a little more zoomed out. So the Rendr Sketchbook, I feel like this paper is so thick, I feel like I'm drawing on cardboard. And that's kind of one of the things that kind of bugs me about this. And then there's also the bleeding and feathering that happens with some of my wetter pens. Just kind of expected better from something that is more on the expensive side. I don't know. I'll still draw through this until I'm completely done with it. But I'm still looking for that perfect sketchbook for fountain pens. Please let me know if you have something that you really love in a sketchbook, especially for fountain pen art, and I'd love to check it out in a future video. All right, so here's some lines. And right away I can see, first of all, I still love this Sea of Notions doming blue so much. It looks so nice to me. It's a perfect color for this particular finish of pen, so I'll be using more of that as time goes by. So some quick hatches. I see these lines are quite fine to my eyes. That's about what I expect an extra fine to be, which is what this nib is supposed to be, which is great. And you can actually, there you go. It's a little finicky, but you can actually do some reverse writing, and this comes out very fine. This almost looks like a Japanese extra fine. So good job, Jinhao. This is impressive. And I should also note, so here's reverse, and I did reverse writing on that. And here's, you're gonna skip on me right now, aren't you? Performance anxiety. Here's the forward. Okay, and it's quite wet. So if I were to, even on this paper, which dries pretty quickly, I can lay down some lines and we'll see it smudge pretty quick. A couple seconds later, it'd be dry as a bone, but yeah, something to be aware of if that's something that affects your writing experience. So I'm gonna do some 3D shapes. Let's do a circle, a pyramid, and a square. I don't like to close in the shapes on the inside. So yeah, this could very easily become a favorite writing tool for mine. One thing I did notice, and I noticed it just right now as I was making these test lines, is that the hooded nib is a potential place for, you know, some skipping or some poor writing experience if you don't have the nib aligned perfectly with the floor. It's got to be kind of parallel. That's one of the criticisms people have of hooded nibs. Like I said, I have 3 of them now. and I definitely have more of the standard traditional style fountain pen nibs, and I do like those better in most situations. It's nice to have one or two of something that isn't quite, what you normally use, because it helps you stretch and grow as an artist. But I can only stretch and grow so much. Sometimes the hooded nibs do kind of get to me, and if you have never had a hooded nib before, this would be a good place to start, not something more expensive like, say, a Lamy 2000. If you don't like the experience, you're going to regret buying it. But at this price, this or the 51A is a reasonable risk, I think. Yeah, but you don't, if you're going to decide between the 51A and the 85 for a hooded nib, it's about the same size and finish and that same kind of look. These things are pretty similar to each other. It's really a question of how much money do you want to spend. This was, I'm trying to remember, I think this was about $17, where the 51A that I bought, the wood finish one at least, is about $10. So not a huge price difference, and they're both definitely on the cheaper end. And then I think this looks like a little more of a premium finish, like it earned that extra money. Whereas the 51A functions very similarly, and there are some other things to consider in that. So before we get into the drawing sample, I'm going to give you some art advice has become a custom for me. And this is could be my personal opinion, but let me know what you think in the comments. I'd rather be good. We'll put that in parentheses, whatever good means. I'd rather be good than, again in parentheses, original. So honestly, for me, when it comes down to this question of finding your own style and drawing in your own style, that's stuff that I've discovered naturally from drawing a lot, figuring out what I do well and what I do not well. The skills that it takes to improve at art are kind of the same, and they have been the same since the beginning of time. That is practice, repetition, doing things over and over again. Can I spell repetition? We will see. No, I cannot. Practice again. Practice spelling repetition. Repetition. Oh my god. This is so embarrassing. I'm a teacher. Practice, repetition, and copying, or we'll use the word studying if you don't want to use the word copying, but that is really what it is. Copying, spelling again, studying the masters, people who do things well that you like. And style really comes from which masters will you copy, because there's countless numbers of them, and how will you combine what you learn from them into what you create. So keep those things in mind. And on that subject of drawing and not spelling, we're going to draw something today. So with any luck, this is going to be the last video on my channel which features the Rendr Sketchbook. I've given it every chance to like it, but man, the paper is just really spongy, and I get a lot of bleed, and I haven't really made anything on this sketchbook that I liked. Like anything, I think I've only uploaded 1 or 2 pages onto my Instagram from this book, so it's holding me back. And it did not do this Jinhao 85 any favors either, because it is kind of a wet flow pen, so there was definitely some bleed here. I decided to go a little bit simple route for this, something that I just had fun with, doing a little bit of a sketch, a little bit loose, a little scribbly, but yeah, we had fun with it. So the things I want to say about this pen. First of all, I like it a lot. I really like the finish. I like holding it. I like using it. It's fun for writing. It's fun for drawing as well. On some different papers, I've had a more positive experience than with the Rendr Sketchbook. Like I said, maybe you can even see it in the drawing that there's some bleeding and some feathering happening here. But the other thing you need to be aware of with this pen is that it is absolutely a hooded nib, and hooded nibs are a certain way. I have a few myself now, and I realize that those you have to hold it at exactly the right angle or you're going to get skipping, and that's true of everything. That's true of the Lamy 2000 I have, which is a hooded nib, and it's worth that's to be debated, but it is valued at about 10 times the cost of this Jinhao 85. So if you also consider the price point, the 85 is kind of an astonishing pen, that you can get that much value and that much production quality out of something that costs less than $20. That's impressive. So if you're in the market for a hooded nib and you want something that's nice, I recommend this. I do. It was a lot of fun to play with. I'm glad that I have it in my collection, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the drawing. I'm just gonna see you at the end. Okay, last little clip at this particular angle. I just realized while I was doing this video that I currently have 3 hooded nibs. I've got this Jinhao 85, which we were looking at today. I've got the Jinhao 51A, which we did a video last year. And I have my Lamy 2000, so at vastly different price points. I have 3 more hooded nibs than I ever thought I would own. I do like all 3 of these, but I thought I would just rank them in order of which one I like the best for art. And I wanted to clarify that that's for art because this Lamy 2000 is my favorite pen of these 3 when it comes to the writing experience and the holding in my hand experience. It feels really nice, posts really nice. I am very happy with this pen, but actually of these 3 for drawing, this is my 3rd favorite, which is shocking to me considering the price difference between this pen and these 2 pens. You could buy both of these pens 5 times and not match the cost of this Lamy 2000. So it comes down to the question of which of these 2 pens do I like better? Just for the pure enjoyment and kind of luxury feeling, I've got to say I think I really enjoy this Jinhao 85 just slightly more than my 51A. Enough to justify the cost, but if I were to have to buy one of these pens over again to just have one of the 2, I think it would be the 85 would be the one that would be my choice. Yeah, I'm not happy with how this pen performed on the paper, but I am blaming the paper once again. That Rendr Sketchbook was a bit of a disappointment. Paper kind of spongy. But on other papers, this pen has performed nicely, and I can't wait to switch out my sketchbook and have something new. Anyway, that's my final thoughts on this pen, and we're going to end it right here. Thanks everybody for all of your comments, for the new subscribers. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.